just phenomenal. And I said to Dean, if she was still living after the inauguration, we would have had an hour discussion about Millennia's hat. No doubt about it. I would have got the whole backstory about how the hat got damaged before it was delivered by delivery company, Reg. Does that sound familiar? And had how they had to redo the hat, and they were hoping that the dialogue was going to match the outfit. But the designer got it all put together. So anyway, but the day she was born was blue sky gorgeous, and she was. I got that twinge, and I said to myself, "Oh, I'm going into labor." Well, in those days, you didn't know whether you were having a boy or a girl. You just showed up and went, "I hope I get what I want." When I was pregnant with Monique, I had the name Monique picked out for a girl, and the girl that was attending me, also at Cedar Sinai's, first name was Monique, and I said, "I'm having a girl," and sure enough, Monique came into the world. So when I got that pain and I went into Cedar Sinai, and Cedar Sinai, if any of you are from Southern California, it's a celebrity hospital. Celebrities go there to die and to be born. And so Freddie Prince's wife was in the room next to me giving birth to her son, Freddie Prince Jr. And Michelle from one of the singing groups was next door. So I was just the low person with no celebrity status giving birth. I had three names picked out: Danielle, Jacqueline for my dad, and Gina. And I didn't want to name her until I saw her. And once I saw her, I said, "Oh, she had that little Italian Gucci bud." And I said, "She's a Gina." Okay. So Gina Michelle came into the world, and she had, like I said, a very welcoming personality. Monique was like a Irish twin to her. They were 15 months apart, and they went everywhere together. But they were absolute polar opposites. Okay, Monique was all academia. Gina was all in the arts. She'd tell her sister, "Get a life, go play." And but they were so supportive to each other always. Okay, helping her learn how to ride a bike. Monique kept saying, "Gina, use the brake, quit dragging your toes." Okay, that's not how you brake the bicycle. But anyway, they went absolutely everywhere together. And through all of life's journeys, Monique was her best friend. So when she demonstrated her aptitude for art, it was really shown to me when she was graduating. And there's a picture in here. It's on the page that says graduations. And you will see on the page down at the bottom, she's in a polka dot suit with a straw hat. Okay. She was like 13 years old when she put this outfit on. And I remember when she went to the platform to deliver her speech, the woman behind me said, "Now there's an outfit." And I thought to myself, "Yep, there was her outfit." Anyway, she graduated high school, and when she did, she said to me, "Mom, I want to go to FITM." And FITM is an acronym for Fashion Institute of Merchandising and Design. And so she went to the Fashion Institute for a year and did a lot of designing. I used to look at all the fabulous designs for clothes she would do. And I'd say to myself, "Oh, those are really nice." She said, "I'm bored. I can't do this forever. It's not what I want to do." And so she said to me, "I'd really like to go to the Chicago Art Institute." And I said, "Well, if that's what you want, then that's what you should do." So she boarded a train and headed out for Chicago. And I remember I cried like a baby when she got on that train. And she absolutely loved Chicago. And her first job there was Wolfgang Puck loved Gina. And he said, "I want you as my evening hostess." And she said, "Oh, great." She says, "Mom, I make more money in tips than I do my salary." I said, yeah, that's how it works there. And so Wolfgang Puck had a cigar bar at the top of the restaurant, and very well known celebrities would go up there. And so Gina seated Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. And so later in the evening, she gets a call. Mr. Jordan and Mr. Bryant would like some hot wings at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night, whatever it was. And she said, Mama, it wasn't on the menu. And so Gina, being Gina, knew exactly where she could get hot wings at 11 o'clock at night, got them, had them delivered, and took them up to Mr. Jordan and said, Here you go, sir. And he handed her $100 tip. She said, Mom, I couldn't believe it. I actually got $100 tip. I said, save it. It's probably the only one you'll ever get in your entire life. so don't get rid of it. Anyway, she loved working there. And one thing she always used to tell me, she said, they feed everybody before you start work. The restaurant does. So everybody is fed. And they all would stay after hours and visiting. So everybody in the Chicago restaurant business, they all knew each other. All the bartenders, everybody, they all knew each other. So her next job was at Gucci's, and I get the phone call. Oh, Mama, I just sold a $17,000 Christmas dress. I said, You've got to be kidding me. She said, No. She said, One thing about working at Gucci's, I've learned everything about high service, and people at this level demand it. And she said, So I've learned what it is to get really impeccable service. She says, Mama, you've got to come and buy something. I said, Gina, I'm not buying a $17,000 dress, but I did make it to Gucci's, and I did buy a traditional Gucci bag with the stirrups, which is well known that that's a Gucci bag, if you know anything about Gucci, and a wallet, and I had it. I still have it, okay, to this day. So she graduated from the Art Institute, had us all come into Chicago, and Gina, being Gina, had us do the infamous Chicago water tour. And if any of you have ever been to Chicago or ever plan to go to Chicago, you've got to take the river tour. It's fabulous, okay? So we did the river tour, and then that evening she said, Mama, I've got reservations for us at the top of the John Hancock building, which I knew very well because I had a client who had a condo in there that I had stayed a couple of times. Anyway, long story short, she said, So we have dinner reservations, blah, blah, blah. So we all get there. And, they got the traditional red rope, right, in the long line. And Gina goes, Just follow me. And so I followed her, and the whole family followed her, and we went right past everybody. And the maitre d' says, Gina, right this way, your table's ready. And my brother, Michael, turned to me and said, Your daughter's connected. I said, Yeah, I know she is. Anyway, she loved Chicago. But then she left Chicago to go to Aspen. And she talked Dean and I into flying up there one Christmas to visit her. And if you've ever flown into Aspen in the dead of winter, you better have your rosary with you because it'll scare the hell out of you. Okay. So anyway, we stayed there, and she said, Mama, you gotta go up this tram. Now, Dean and I are not skiers, okay? And she said, You gotta go up this tram so you can personally witness the Great Rocky Mountain Divide, which I did. And I have to tell you, it is breathtaking, okay? So she left Aspen to go to Orange County. And while she was working in Orange County, she met Eric. Traditional meeting online. Anyway, she moved up to Northern California, and her and Eric lived up there and eventually were married. She worked at the Artisan Institute there, which was a fabulous place. It was like a big, huge park with all these gorgeous artisans that had their crafts there. And Gina was working for an artisan contractor who would buy artifacts from all over the world, and they were absolutely stunning. And I'd go in there and Dean would go, no, you're not having that shit. And, but it was absolutely gorgeous. So she calls me and says, Eric and I have decided to marry. And I said, okay. And she says, and I've decided I want to get married in the barn here. And I remember saying to her, of course she knew. So, as Jason will attest, because he presided over the proceedings, Gina and Eric were married there in this gorgeous barn that she had. Gina did all the decorations, all of her flowers, everything. I mean, and she made her wedding gown, which is on the table. She designed it and made it herself. And everything was uniquely Gina. Okay. Anyway, so after that, her two children came into her world. First her son, and then her daughter a few years later. And they became her entire world. And you will see from these photos that Gina was a phenomenal mother. She had picture after I would get albums sent to me every holiday with all these pictures, and they were absolutely gorgeous. So she would take every occasion to take them to someplace special, and she was always calling me saying, you know, Mama, I think this might be a great trip for the kids. What do you think? I go, well, just plan on it, okay? So she would, and after the children, her next passion was flowers. And Gina started two businesses, both of them with Esty initially, and they were all for flowers. And it was not unusual for a good friend of Gina's, and I think one of them might be in this room, who would say, can you help me with my flowers? Which is really code for it, I can't afford it. And Gina would say, of course. And Gina would go out and say, give me what your plan is and everything else, and she would make these phenomenal flowers for the wedding party and decorations for the event and do it at almost her cost, okay? So that this girlfriend of hers, whoever they were, could have the flowers of their dreams for their wedding. But that was typically Gina. She was so giving. The other thing that she did a lot was she donated her time to the food bank, and she would go down there and she would take the children with her. She thought it was a good model for them to learn about giving to others, and so please start eating. And, so she took them all the time there, and I would always get these phone calls. Mama, I'm thinking of taking the kids to the Nutcracker Suite down in San Francisco. Can you get me some tickets? I said, of course. And then she said, Mama, I'm thinking about going glamping. I said, what the hell is glamping? She says, oh, that's high-end camping. I said, glamping is high-end camping? She said, Mom, you and Dad would love this. Okay. You're in a custom design streamer trailer that's all high-tech. Okay. It's not like you're sleeping on the floor. And I said, oh, okay. So she would take them to all these different places, and they just loved it. So it wasn't unusual for her to do all that. And then late in 2022, she said to me, you know, can you do me a favor? Can you buy me my birthday present early? I said, sure, what do you want? She said, I would love to have some kind of comfortable chair. My back is killing me. I just can't get comfortable. I said, okay, let's go to Murphy's and try out what you want, and we'll just have it delivered. So we did, okay. So I had the chair delivered and took off for Washington, and Dean and I were heading for Florida. We have two homes, one in Washington, one in Florida, and we were heading to Florida. And we no sooner got there when I got the call. Mama, you know the back pain that I've been having? I said, yes, sweetheart. She said, it's stage 4 bone cancer. And I went, oh my God. Well, her breast cancer had metastasized to bone cancer, which I knew was limited. So I said to Dean, our time with Gina's going to be limited. And God bless her, she was a warrior. I went and stayed with her for 7 months the first time. And she went from 3,000 tumors to 200 tumors. Wow. And the chemo was working wonderfully. And if you look at the pictures, she had a fetish for shoes. She had a closet full of stiletto shoes she couldn't wear anymore. When I tried to get them removed to make room for some of her stuff, she told Gabby, "Don't you touch those are my memories." So those stilettos stayed in her closet until the day she died. Anyway, but I knew once I stayed 7 months, and she, like I said, she went from 3,000 to 400 tumors. So I went home, and then Dean and I left again for Florida in January. And sure enough, I get the phone call. "Mama, I need you to come back. I've got to go in for robotic hysterectomy. Can you come?" I said, "Of course, I'll be there on the next flight." So I stayed with her then for 4 months while we went through that. And for any of you who have dealt with people with cancer, chemo has what's known as a brain barrier. So it treats your entire body but your brain. So when the cancer went into her brain, which it did at the end, that's when you know it's lights out, because there's nothing they can do. And that's when your oncologist says, "My game's over. There's nothing I can do." And she went on hospice care, which I have to say, I have 3 people I donate money to. One is St. Jude, the other is Tunnel for Towers, and the other one is hospice. And if you've ever had a relationship with hospice, you will find that they are the most wonderful people in the world. Yep. Anyway, like I said, our time with Gina was limited, and I knew we would be losing our treasure. And Monique, who left litigation to become an ICU nurse, was pivotal in helping me in the final stages of caring for her sister. And so we had everybody up for Thanksgiving, because I knew we were nearing the end. And I wanted to have a traditional Thanksgiving. I did all, the turkey and the whole 9 yards. Even did a cheesecake, cognac cheesecake, and Gina loved it. But that was the last. The next week is when that was it. And I called Monique and said, "You got to come back up." So we were both holding her hand. I promised her she would die at home. She said, "Do not let them take me to a convalescent home." I said, "I will not let that happen. I will make sure that you die at home," which she did. And I was holding her hand when she took her last breath, and I was there when she took her first. So, and her sister was as well. So a piece of me went with Gina that night, and I'll never be the same. But I'm comforted knowing that she's in God's hands and that she's at peace, finally. Thank you. Enjoy your lunch.